Okay.
Mm.
So when you have someone who has got some great intuition and they're also a doer at high levels, you get to a point where rather than, well, on the one hand, you ring the alarm bell, but at some point you decide, hey, I'm just going to build and they will come, right? Um, Albana, you have taken an extremely scary step for most, but I have no doubt that you're going to smash it. But before we get any further, Albana, welcome back. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you for having me again, Alex. It's always a pleasure speaking with
It's
you.
always fun. I did see. At this point, I think it's been a month. I know. It took me a while. I apologize, but as soon as I saw that you were, um, essentially going out on your own and starting your own company, I was like, a. I feel like this is a long time in the making, right? So kudos to you there, but also the specific thing that you have decided to build your company on is also something I think is critical, especially in this day and age. And I had a conversation maybe a couple of weeks before I saw that in LinkedIn, and I was like, look, there are going to be lots of companies who don't understand AI. They don't understand how this works. They don't understand the pitfalls. They don't understand a lot of things. And we see it already where some companies have all willy nilly just jumped into this quote unquote trend and found themselves in a really big bad situation. And so I think the service that you provide is exceptional. But let me stop talking here.
You.
Do you want to explain to me that, or the folks, like, what it is that you are getting into?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. And first of all, thank you so much for highlighting this and connecting with me again. Um, I've had, as you know, I've had a long experience and trajectory and business experience in finance, and then I made a transition to data and analytics. And it was only natural for me to evolve and embrace AI as the next step of the evolution of an analytically minded person. So, about 6 months ago, I started thinking about what would I wanna do with my career, with my life. I'm still leading the Financial Women's Association, and that's a labor of love. I love giving back to the community. But as the president of FWA, I meet a lot of people, and especially a lot of women who are going through the motions. They're in transition, and the recurring theme is, what do I do to upskill myself in the world of AI? And I think those were some of the challenges that I am looking to tackle with this new endeavor. I want to be able to provide the tools to the workforce, not only individuals, but to the organizations and institutions out there who are looking to retain talent, but also to upskill it and take it to the next level so they can 10x their productivity, and eventually that will trickle down to the bottom line. So how do we help the workforce, but also understand that we are deploying AI in a safe and ethical manner in the organizations? So I decided to just go out on my own and build a company so that I can work with organizations who are struggling right now on how to do that well. And what we see is that there is so much change in a very short period of time. And I think because there's so much coming from all directions, people and organizations feel overwhelmed with the velocity of speed of the change that's happening. So, how do we then kind of put certain frameworks and systems in place so that people are uh, understanding this technology little by little and not just feeling overwhelmed? That I know that some organizations are completely giving up and some are going all in without actually understanding the repercussions. So how do we bring it all together and kind of work step by step and get people to understand that not everything will happen so quickly, but also how do we escalate the learning curve.
Yeah. I mean, there's there's so much to unpack there. I mean, to your point,
Yeah.
there is, I think we've both worked for enough companies and corporations to understand that by large, many companies tend to be decades behind the cutting edge. And because there's so much
Yes.
bureaucracy, there's so much this, that, and third, the systems are what they are, and people are kind of unwilling to take that kind of dramatic change, especially when there's a chance where this new system doesn't work, right? Also, how many times have we been part of systems implementations where, oh, this is the latest and greatest thing, and we use it and we're like, this is garbage, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, I could understand where there are enough newsletters or articles saying, hey, such and such company embraced AI this, AI that, automated this, cut 50,000 people here, and whatever, whatever, whatever. And then they find out, oh, tails tucked between the
Mm.
legs. They have to rehire because it turns out this AI didn't do what they wanted to. The other side of it, I do see more companies that are saying, hey, we could buy a pre-packaged AI product, or we could just learn from what they failed at, which was custom building it internally for ourselves by us who understand the system. But again, the common thing that I tend to notice is the understanding of how do we do this effectively and safely so that it's
Yeah.
done in compliant fashion. And so I also interweave that with, I do believe right now, at least in this season, that it's
Yeah.
not AI itself, it's the people who understand AI. We've heard this time and time again, but I think it's
Mhm.
also multifactorial, right? Unfortunately, like the entry level to mid level, almost across the board for most of the industries that I talk and interact with, is you need to understand how this works. In our day and age, it was Excel. I'm sorry, right? Like that's now archaic,
Yeah.
right?
No, this is the new Excel now, for
Right.
sure. Yeah.
But the other level of complexity is, I strongly believe that leadership needs to understand that, hey, you might not be doing the AI architecting. However, you as leadership need to understand where the pitfalls are so that you could quarterback effectively
Mhm.
to say, hey, you guys could handle the building of the widgets. But boss,
Yeah.
man, woman, person is gonna say, okay, okay, no, no, no. You guys need to understand that we need to build in these safeguards and we need to understand compliance.
Right.
And I think this is where it's very incredible that while other companies are trying to like DIY on this understanding, you're saying, hey, 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 I have my reps and I have the people who understand this at a high level and in depth as well. We can go forwards, backwards. Why don't you rely on us as
Mhm.
a resource and we will help you. I'll shepherd you through the way, right? Um, talk to me about your journey there, right? Because I do know I did notice that you were tinkering with a lot of stuff. Um,
Yeah.
so like, what's that look like?
Definitely. And there's a lot to unpack here. So, from a software engineering perspective, that whole area is on a trajectory to change and revolutionize in a way that has never happened before. And what's interesting is, you know, people do some vibe coding and they think that they're engineers now. But it's
Mhm.
not true. We all know that still you have to understand the basics and the fundamentals of engineering so that you can then use AI to really upscale your work and your productivity. So I don't think the role itself is going away. I think that it is being transformed into more of a engineering plus business type of roles. So an engineer now can be part of a budget team or a finance team and be embedded in the business and understand the business. So they play a dual role. So they're still building tools for finance, but now they're part of the business functions. And the same thing will happen with business stakeholders. They're going to upskill to understand engineering frameworks and systems, and they will not rely so much on engineers to do their work because they could just create their own POCs very quickly. The issue is when you're trying to uh, upscale a process and make it more enterprisey wide type of process. It's easy to do a POC. You can tinker with AI, create it. It works for a demo, but then actually scale it to 1,000, 100,000, a million customers. That's where you need real engineering practices and architecture to upscale, to take it to the next level, to scale up the system. So I just want to be clear that these roles are not going away. They're just changing. They're becoming more of a partnership with the business and the business frameworks. Um, and this, basically these are kind of merging together. The business and engineering are coming together. And maybe some roles will be eliminated, but maybe some new roles will show up, such as, I don't know, HR engineering architect or something like that, right? You're merging two different roles into one because now you require a different skill set. You need to understand the business and the technical skills. So it's an evolution. A lot of these roles will be end to end. You take someone and you say, here is the process we're trying to build. They will do the whole thing end to end, give you a POV, and then they'll you'll find out who the right people are to actually scale that up. So I think that's what fascinates me the most, to understand what is happening. How are things changing? In my opinion, a lot of the companies that are scared to dive into AI right now and are just kind of playing with it, but not actually using it to integrate it into their own businesses. My advice to them would be, create these dedicated teams from your company. Take people away from their day-to-day work and reassign them into special projects that are only dedicated to doing that part of the business, experimenting with a use case, using AI, and trying to learn from it before you implement it to the whole organization. You need to create these different pods in different business units to play with it, to understand it, lessons learned, and then once you're ready, you roll it out to the whole enterprise. So that's like an agile way of rolling out something new, right? The other thing that I see that is really interesting is that there is a lot of code being written now with AI, which is great. But there is also a lot more to review, a lot more mistakes that we might need to understand. Uh, and so you still need the human in the loop to understand that. Just because you wrote the code and you push it out there doesn't mean that it's right, that is compliant with your business, that you're not avoiding any risks. Someone needs to still review it and make sure that is in compliance with your business and your organization. And as you know, privacy and security are a big thing in the tech world.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, sure, you're going to have all these agents who are going to check your work, but who's checking the agents, right? So you still need competent people to be out there and oversee what's happening. And at the end of the day, understand the ins and out, because God forbid, the power goes away, or there is some kind of power outage, or something happened. You never know. Anything could happen, right? I mean, Amazon was out for like what, a couple of
Mhm.
hours, and then the whole world shut down. So you still need people to understand what to do when those things happen. So you need to build a resiliency plan in the midst of all of that.
Yep. And I think that's where I think there's a lot of oversight, right? So for me, I do notice that there is a weird thing that happens when it comes to AI in general, right? In
Mm.
terms of, obviously okay, so there are people who will still be in that camp of AI's trash, It's always gonna hallucinate. It's always gonna be wrong and da 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 da. Right? Fine.
Mhm.
And then there's a camp where over time, I think a lot of folks have developed this almost overtrust of the
Believing.
answers that are provided. Right. And it's, you want to call it insidious? I don't think I would go that far. I think it's just human nature of like, hey, if you give me enough right answers, eventually there is a certain level of call it trust of like, hey, okay, like it's really reasonable. Still, I might still check your answer, but it's like, okay, they're probably right. Now, where I start to get like the heebie-jeebies is someone recently explained to me like, hey, like, for instance, when you go to say Claude Cowork or one of these, any one of these agentic systems where you could automate a lot of tasks, like we
Mhm.
live in a world of fraud and misuse, and there are still terrible people in the world. Surprise, right? And for instance, you laid out this hypothetical of, let's say you have a system where all your POs and all these invoicing stuff that comes through, it comes from an email inbox. Now you have the system that clicks the hyperlink, downloads the PDFs or whatever have you, and cycles it in, registers it all into the system, and it tracks, did it receive, not receive, whatever.
Mhm.
Now, what
Mhm.
happens if one of those links, like let's say someone knows or just taking a chance of like just sending to a million companies, this is a hyperlink for the invoice or PO or whatever have you, and turns out it's not actually a real what you're expecting. It turns out to have malicious code in it, and that infects
Yeah.
your system, which is possible,
Exactly.
right? Now you're in a situation where what does that thing do? Does it hijack the rest of their company data? Does it shut you down from a competitor so now you're going to be out of business, or does it wipe out all of your information? What does it do, right?
Right.
And the other, he goes, if you go even a couple steps further, because we now at this point most people understand that we're these stories of what AI, where AI can go hypothetically rogue, right? But
Mhm.
beyond that, he's like, maybe one of these, whether the AI starts going crazy or again someone implants something not good into the code.
Mhm.
What if
Mhm.
you have this thing start writing you out code, and without you realizing, there's also a backdoor that's built into it without you knowing.
Right.
Now, if
Exactly.
someone doesn't understand to check the code, they just think, "Oh,
Yeah.
this is working all well and great." And then, in this scenario, maybe 6 months down the line, you're like, "Wait, why is this competitor almost doing identically what we're doing? How are they doing this?" It
Mhm.
turns out maybe there's a back door that's built in, and it's right. Like there's so many different ways. So this is a long-winded way of saying it really does make sense to have safeguards and insurance of having people who understand the work. And this is just a tool to
Mhm.
expedite, right? Like again, it's light years different, I understand, but Excel
Yeah.
was one way for us to look at thousands of rows of data and be
Mhm.
and run the formulations and calculations so that we're not spending weeks, we spend hours, right?
Exactly.
And do I see a realm where AI will eventually delete out all of our work? I see that hypothetical, yes.
Mhm.
But if I were to think in terms of realistic outcomes,
Yeah.
there's still enough of a healthy distrust of just completely giving this AI
Yeah.
overlord the keys to the kingdom, right? And
Right.
honestly, it's not sophisticated enough right now, like in terms of commercial availability, for us to say, plug it in, we're all done, everyone go home, we're finished, right? Like it's not there,
No.
right?
Yeah.
And
No.
to your point, look, what happens if the systems go down, right? Are you okay with
Mhm.
you guys just twiddling your thumbs for however long it takes to spend back up, or are you a
Mhm.
company where customers, procedures, like, if you're a manufacturing and system shut down for 3 hours,
Yeah.
is that going to cost you millions of dollars? Right? Like this is why it's interesting.
I think all the companies need to be prepared, just like what happened during COVID. This is COVID was the real test, right? How quickly do you bounce back from a setback? The whole world shuts down, everyone is at home. How do you get everybody online, and can you support that quickly? And so there needs to be some resiliency planning built into your implementation of AI, so that if something happens, you still have the resources to go back up again. Not only the people who need to understand it, but also, I mean, I think a lot of people have forgotten how to do things with paper and pen any longer, right? Like who does that anymore? right? I don't think it would be that easier to go back, but maybe we should start thinking about that, like if all the systems go down, do we have these in a backup place or some kind of printout that we can refer to, right? That is like proof. If I'm hoping nothing like that bad happens. Obviously, we're rooting for more advancements and not going back in time. But I mean, even like if the electricity goes out, what do you do? How do you cook? How do you, take care of yourself? And so a lot of people, especially the younger generation who didn't grow up, in certain parts of the world where you actually washed clothes by hand. I don't know if they would know how to do that, right? To survive. It's kind of like the Wild Wild West again. Now that's like the worst case scenario. Obviously, that's not going to happen, but um, you still need to have some understanding of what would you do? What are some of the measures that you can take in case you have to revert back to certain prior processes? And I know you said something about hallucination, which is really interesting because I agree it does hallucinate a lot. But that's why you have to context matters and instructions matter a lot, and making sure that when you're asking questions, you're saying you're actually saying that I want real facts based on real written work that is out there. So basically, ask it to give you the facts so that you can understand whatever he's giving you, is it real or not. Sometimes when you even connect, let's say Claude or Gemini or whoever the source, the AI model is, to your actual data, it still sometimes make up new data based on what it knows. It derives conclusions based on things that it thinks you would want to know. And so even if you connect it to the source, you still have to check that, is it the true source, or are you deriving your answers on something that's not there, but you're making it up? Because I have seen that happen as well. You connect it to a data source, to a database, you ask a question about a customer information, and it will just make up a new field which doesn't exist in your data warehouse.
That's spooky.
So, so that happens as well. So I think then you have to build up the context that you're giving, right? Instructions that are very clear. Do not make up any new fields. Like you have to be very specific. And so most of the time that engineers or business people are going to be spending on is not on writing the code or creating things, because AI will assist with that, but it will be on writing clear instructions based on the risk level of your organization so that you are providing those instructions, and then AI uses that as its guardrails. Like, these are the instructions, you can't go out of that, right? This is what you're using. So yeah, so a lot of the time is going to be spent on making sure you're documenting everything to what you want your organization to have,
Yep.
and what kind of output you want it to have.
It is interesting that we started off with the prompt engineering and all that, and I think I do see
Mhm,
the zeitgeist is kind of shifting in a way where they're saying, hey, don't look. Some tools are just gonna be garbage, right? Let's just call it what it is. But by
mhm,
large, there's a growing cohort of people that are saying, hey, it might not be the tool, it might be you,
mhm,
right? You might be the reason why it's not working the way as intended because you are
mhm.
not providing
Yes.
the instructions that are clear enough. Do you? So for me, the conversation now is now revolving around, hey, do you even understand your operations and your intended results,
Yeah.
the intended whatever it is that you're trying to produce? Because if you're just being vague with it, it's just a lot more times than not, it is giving you what you asked for. It's just you
Mhm,
were not
mhm.
specific enough in painful enough detail to really spell out the specific guidelines in order for you to be successful, right?
Yeah.
And so it is interesting because I think some people are now using it also as a litmus test of assuming that a lot of these AI tools operate almost like a um, enthusiastic intern, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Am I able to explain and understand my company or my role in this company or the jobs within the company well enough so that I could train this intern and produce actual useful information,
Yeah.
right? And it's
So this what's so funny, and
no,
I'm
no.
sorry to interrupt, but just like something just came into my mind right now because I literally was speaking with a student, with a college senior yesterday. As you know, I do a lot of mentoring and I talk to students all the time about career and all of that. And what I said to this student was, I said, no one is really going to teach you how to do your job. You have to be intentional and take
Mhm.
initiative because what I see with the younger generation, right? Gen Zs that like now we all complain about. But I think they have a different perspective on work-life balance, on work itself. What I see the difference from my generation is, and I'm a millennial at the tail end of it, but the difference is that when I grew up, and I was young, I was like I was a hustler, right? And I'm still a hustler, right? You like I'm a go-getter. If I want something, if I really want something, I just go after it. I don't see any barriers or anything, to stop me. I just go, and if I want to do something, I go learn all about it, or I do all of the research, and I just do it. And with a lot of younger people that I have worked in my prior roles, is that they wait to be told what to do. They're not the ones who are doing the research themselves and just coming up with solutions and say, hey, I try, at least I tried. Here's what I came up with, but maybe you know more because you have obviously a lot more context and life experience. So then, then it's a conversation. So I said, don't wait to this student. I said, don't wait to be told what to do and what to learn. You go in, and wherever you see that there is a vacuum or people are not giving you the answers that you want, you go and do the work, and then you ask lots of questions, right? And so if we were to treat AI like that, it would be the same as these students who are just going and having these first time jobs. They don't understand the context of the company, they don't understand, but they have to do the
Mhm.
research, right? And then they ask questions. So it will get to a point right now that's not the
Mhm.
case where AI will learn everything it needs to know about your business, and then it will ask questions, and then you provide the context, and it's a give and take type of relationship. Right now, you can't ask AI, go and learn everything about my business because we're not there
Mhm.
yet. So now you have to be the one to feed it information
Mhm.
constantly and take the time to do
Mhm.
that. And sometimes we just don't have the time. That time is the differentiator here. Like, is your team spending time away from their day-to-day job to actually provide the context, document instructions in a way that then it will reduce this day-to-day work, but it will amplify this automated
Mhm.
work that you've been wanting to do for a long time?
And I think that's the sauce. I mean, there's so much to unpack in that. Right? Because
I know, right?
I
Yeah.
mean, because look, so a little while, I don't know, maybe a couple of weeks ago at this point, maybe a few weeks at this point. For instance, I was talking to the CEO of Mesh, and her shtick was like, "Hey, I built a system because I realized most tools don't work
Mm,
because it's not because the tool doesn't work itself, it's because but when you release, again, a lot of these failings with these AI tool sets that's supposed to be for the masses hasn't changed
mhm,
from the earlier iterations of most programs, right? Like how many times has there been like, oh, they pitched out, hey, like again, back in the day, I'm sorry, this will scan all the information and automatically populate the data for you, and they realize it's garbage because where it plugged and played is wrong, and so now I have to manually go back, delete, fix, right? And the AI tool
mhm,
sets is usually, hey, it's designed to, I don't know, like clean up your month end close or automate this, that, and third, and then you realize, hey, each particular company, their logic is different. The quirks, the
mhm.
nuances, right? The minutia of why this company operates the way they do as opposed to the next company next door is different. And so
Yes.
the specifics for that company, because it's not programmed into the thing, right?
Mhm,
And then the people are like, oh, I don't know why it didn't work. I know what the debits and credits do. I know what I know where it's supposed to theoretically fit on a financial statement. Yeah, but you forgot that, hey, this company also has 15 other
Mhm.
subdivisions and whatever, and they don't always play the same logic, and so now it breaks, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
this is where I think it's important for you, because I think, again, at least for now, I feel like that's gonna be the recurring issue. Hey, this tool doesn't work. It's not that the tool doesn't work per se.
Right.
I think we need to take the time. Like, I think I need to sit with you and your team to say, hey, what
Mhm.
specific things are you seeing things break? Like, where do you see it break and why? And then we might have to have a discussion in terms of, hey, is it just a matter of not understanding the rule sets for your company as it
Yeah.
pertains to this tool? So maybe, well, I don't know if this is what you're going to do, but it might be like, hey, maybe this off the shelf solution doesn't work and we just need to build something ground up with you and your team.
Right.
Or
Ex
and hopefully it's not, well, maybe it does work out bad that way, but in some cases it could just be like it's like the equivalent of way back in the day when our boss is like, hey, this Excel thing doesn't work. I'm like, no, because you deleted a cell and wiped out the rest of the data. Like, is it a user error? Right?
exactly. No, that is so true. It's so funny because this brings me back to my days in finance, where we work together. We used to build these reports, these automated
Yeah,
reports.
go on to the dashboard too.
One of the dashboards, and we used to provide specs to IT, and then they would come back, they build it after 3 months, and then you check it, you do the testing, and it's not giving you the right data because the drop downs are not in the order that you wanted it, and there are so many exceptions, and you thought that you wrote the specs out because you don't know the process. You're like, here, business unit, it's supposed to go to the fund, and then this and that. Like, if it's not here, it's gonna go here. In your head, you thought you had given all the best instructions and specs to IT, but they're not understanding, or you just didn't give the right instructions, or you didn't convey context that probably you knew in your head, and it's not easy to translate into paper. So there was always this back and forth with IT, and this struggle between the business, finance, and IT. And they don't understand. And I'm sure IT thought they don't know what they're doing and what they're asking. So it was always
Was
this
friction.
clash. Right. And so it's kind of the same that's happening now with AI, where like AI doesn't understand what I want to do. Well, because maybe you have so many exceptions built into your process that you're not documenting all your exceptions appropriately for AI to understand your full picture of the
Mhm.
process. And so it's a give and take until you get to the point where you're completely documented everything. And so I agree with you that a lot of these things that were outsourced now, you get an off the shelf system or application. The time that you spend to do that integration with an external system or vendor is going to be the time that your internal team will need to actually maybe build it in house and use AI to do it in a probably more efficient way, because you internally understand the business so much better than someone who's coming and learning everything from scratch, unless it's like a vendor who's been in the space for a really long time and they understand what they're doing and understand your challenges. But it's always going to be a partnership with the business to understand how the business works.
I agree with that 1000%. Oh, there's so much could be said when you when you're behind the curtain. But
Yeah.
I think for lots of reasons I'll leave, I'll leave that alone. But when I think about my interactions with a lot of companies, it is, I mean, and I'm not saying it's wrong, right? Because the
Hmm.
reasons why are should be obvious, but a lot of the decision makers will think in terms of risk and liabilities, right? Where's the security risks? Are there any potential legal liabilities? Are there any uh, other liabilities in terms of risk benefit, risk reward, whatever you want to call it, ROIs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Uh, are there, when it comes to considering AI solutions, and you don't have to go through the whole list
Hmm.
because I'm sure it's miles long, but are
Yeah.
there are like top of mind things that you kind of see, like whether it's a CFO or CIO, whatever, right? Decision makers.
Hmm.
Where do you see some of their concerns being, and let's start there. We can unpack that.
Yeah. I'm sure a lot of C-suite executives are one worried that they're behind the AI curve, and so they want to implement it as soon as possible, and so they ignore the fact that it takes time to implement it correctly and safely. Um, some of them want to justify the bottom line when they actually have invested and it hasn't produced the outcomes or the the financial, the ROI is not there basically because it takes time for that to happen. And then some companies just completely ignore the fact that you're going to produce as much as the people that you have and how much they work and how much they use it. And are you training your workforce to actually get to the point where they're ready to use it safely and produce successfully? And so, what is interesting that we are seeing right now is that a lot of organizations are letting go of people because they think that AI will replace uh, the work that they were doing before. But at the same time, you're spending that same amount of money in the tokens that you are spending to use AI. So that's why a lot of these layoffs are happening because, instead of spending money in the workforce and training your workforce appropriately so that they're not spending, all these tokens, but they're spending less tokens because they know how to ask the right questions. They're letting go of people and they're just buying more tokens to use AI. But again, are you using it in a way that it's cost efficient?
Mhm.
And the only way to use it in a way that's cost efficient is to train your workforce to use it in an efficient way. So instead of me asking 5 questions to get to my answer, I'm asking only 1 question. And so I'm using less amount of tokens because I'm being more efficient and I know how to ask the right questions
That makes
to get
that
to
makes
the outcome.
How dare you say things that make sense? The nerve, the nerve, the nerve. Because I think a couple of days ago,
You're
or maybe this morning, I saw an article. I didn't read the whole thing. For me, I'm a sucker for headlines and whatever. But essentially, it was almost comical. Of company lays off employees, spends 150
Mm,
thousand in credits in a month. The employee that was laid off was something like 4,000 a month, and
right.
it's like Jesus, right? And I think this is
Yeah.
other side of blindsides, right? Like on the one hand, yes, like I mean, especially when you are in a situation where you're using like consumer grade AI stuff, it comes with tokens, right? And so I think a lot
Mhm.
of us in the layman sphere is kind of like you just tap 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 away. If the credits run out, it is
Right.
what it is, right? On a corporate level, you multiply that by call it thousands, tens of thousands of employees, that becomes problematic.
Ex
And for me, an understanding of different infrastructures is critical to your point, right? And for me, it's like, hey, do we allow everyone to just run away with asking every minute thing, or for me,
Mhm.
I guess the other question then becomes: does it again make sense to bring some stuff in house, and we could have a database, or warehouse, whatever, to kind of consolidate some of the FAQ type situations, right, and
Mhm.
reduce the spend. But again,
Right.
this is where I love the idea that you are going to be the hey, I
Mhm.
might not give you all the answers of the universe, but I
Mhm.
could give you easily the top 100 pitfalls to save you a whole
Yeah.
a whole bunch of money, most likely, and a crazy amount of headaches.
Yeah, and I think also a lot of these organizations now are starting to measure the usage of their AI and how much their employees are using it. I just don't know if they're using the efficiency of the usage. Like, how well
Mhm.
are their employees using it? Because it's one thing to have everyone go, here it is, go use it. You're going to be rated and your promotion depends on how much you use it. Anyone can use it all day, but what are you actually using it
Mhm.
for, and how efficient are you being in your usage,
Mhm.
right? And I think that's the differentiator with these organizations that are, instead of just, is it free for all or is it
Mhm.
targeted, and is it specific to certain use cases, and are you training your people to use it correctly and efficiently?
It does speak to levels of complexity, right? Like, I mean, look, I know a lot of folks are gonna sit there like, oh my god, this is crazy, this is not. But I mean, if you think of it another way, I would knowledge is power, right? And how many
Mhm.
times have we been in conversations where because it seems so abstract and out there that people are just like, I can't wrap my head around this, and so I will not do it. And then you realize, oh, well, I don't have to do the nitty gritty work. They understand
Mhm.
how it's supposed to be mapped out. But I now, because I know the options, I know this tool for this thing, this tool for that thing, and now you're in a
Yeah.
situation where life isn't that bad. Again, this is the fundamental thing that like breaks my brain of the assumption that everything has to be done by us, by me,
Mhm.
by rather than
Mhm.
saying, hey, I might have to pay these people whatever it is, right? Like
Mhm.
let's call it six figures, right? I have to pay these people hundred
Yeah.
thousand dollars, and I understand the risk because if it doesn't work, it's ineffective. Like most the trope with a lot of consulting firms, quote unquote, is like, hey, we paid you guys, but I didn't save money. Hey, I paid
Right.
you guys, but it doesn't really quite work. I get that, but
Mhm.
Amana, I put my trust in you, right? Like I know there are charlatans, there are snake oil salesmen, but when you find someone who actually is effective in their work, you are. It may not be an
Mhm.
ROI in terms of like, hey, I spent $100,000, right? Just a simple
Yeah.
math, but we saved 20. But what is the margin of error that you saved on? What is the additional? Maybe not you didn't save money on the thing, but does that now drive additional margin on the back end? Is there an additional productivity that you could do elsewhere? Or did the company grow by 3x because all the monotonous work now that instead of you being paranoid about what was wrong, where was the human error, where was now you're just like, hey, look, we know this is correct. Now it's automated. There are no other questions. Now we could maybe shift like 5, 6, 10% of your coworkers or employees to do something more beneficial, right? This is what I love.
Absolutely. And, sometimes the hardest part is to measure the immediate
Mhm.
impact versus the long-term impact of a change. And usually, all good change has an exponential growth to it, right? So you will not know maybe this year, but you will feel the benefits of that in 2, 3 years, because it's a trickle down effect, right? You make a change today that will touch another process, it will improve another process, that process will improve another process, and so on. So now you see this exponential rate of change and growth, and you know change in process. So yeah, I think, and that's kind of the fun part, right? You have to continuously measure all of these different metrics, and you have to decide what is the best metric for your organization. What is it? What are we tracking? How are we judging our growth, and how are we understanding the effect of what we're doing today with AI? I know that sometimes organizations get complacent, and it's a lot of work, right, to measure the impact. But I think that's where that is what is the differentiator for those organizations who are really going to get the impact of AI versus the ones who are not at
Absolutely.
the moment.
I mean, almost a, almost slightly tangential, or whatever you want to call it. Um, that with the tools that are available becoming better and more robust, I do see it does pair well with the increase in entrepreneurship, right? And so, look,
Mhm,
I'm gonna be
mhm.
honest.
Yes.
Well, at least in the accounting industry, I do sense that there is a pain point that's
Mhm,
multifactorial. But one of the things here is that time and time again, I'm seeing the graduating classes and early, call it the first 5 years of their career being problematic, right? Because either
mhm,
it's being offshored or a lot of the grunt work is being AI'd away, and
mm,
it does become questionable because how do you learn to review work unless you've put the reps in to do the work, right?
mhm,
Now, on the flip side, we are seeing people who are saying, "Look, I don't want to do this anymore," And so I might just go out on my own, start a
Yeah.
business. Now, in the past, it's like, oh my God, these are my weak points. I need someone who can manage the office. I need someone who can handle the bookkeeping. I need someone who could,
Hmm.
again, I still say you need people, right? At least in this season of this tech boom, I still say you absolutely need people who
Hmm.
understands and actually knows what they're talking about. Key point there.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Don't just hire a high school
Yeah.
kid who could, whatever. Like someone who actually understands the work. Now, I do see a boom of people saying, hey, because the AI can fill a lot of the gaps, if they're more comfortable with starting out on their own, like starting their own business. And I think that is an absolutely great thing,
Yeah.
right? Because for me, it's
I.
and this is where this is interesting. This is where my thesis kind of, well, not thesis, but
Mhm.
my
Your theory.
yeah, like but it's my theory, but in a way, I guess it's almost like a wishful thinking, like my hope for the
Hmm.
future. Um, because a lot of big companies are big companies for a reason, right? And I don't know that a
Hmm.
lot of that, like I think the big companies are gonna stay big companies, right? Generally speaking.
Hmm.
But where I see this getting interesting is call it the Fortune 300 to Fortune 800, right? You're
Hmm.
going to see a lot of those folks who are still kind of like, we have enough resources to bury the small mom and pops. But where I see this kind of fluctuating is the people who are high performers and now have the stones, if you will, to go out on their own, and they're more agile,
Yeah.
right? Why? I'm embracing the AI. I'm understanding how these tools actually work. I'm learning how to form fit these to my needs.
Yes.
As those grow, plus the new mindset of like, I don't have to go with the old guard way of running corporations. I want to run it the way I want to run it. And
Yes.
there's more than enough business right now, right? There's business, whatever it is that you would do. Chances are there's a good amount of business. There's a good amount of people who will willing to spend their money on you, if if you do the right things, right? So I'm hoping rather for this like renaissance of small medium sized businesses. I'm hoping to see a big
Hmm.
growth of people. Look, I'm sure there's gonna be some culling, right? Some people are just realizing, hey, I thought business ownership was great. I hate it. It's lonely. Things are hard. Everything breaks. People screaming at me. I don't like it. And some people might
Hmm.
realize, hey, this is awesome. I,
Yeah.
there are times where I'm working 16-hour days, which hurts, but I could go see Johnny's baseball game whenever I want. There's no boss that tells me I can't. I don't have to tiptoe out of the office because daycare issues spraying and I feel bad. No, it's I don't know. For me, it's a beautiful thing. But for me, the key thing here, if you are going to play with AI, please, please, please understand the fundamentals in terms of security, because
Yeah.
I'm already seeing cases where it's like, oh crap, I set up OpenClaw on my laptop, on my personal laptop. I gave it very
Mhm.
specific. I thought I gave it specific instructions, and now I'm missing half my hard drive. Huh?
Yeah.
Right? Or it's like, oh, I thought I was explicit in my instructions. I linked it to
Yes.
my banking information. Why the f did this fool spend 60,000 of my dollars ordering things? And it's like, well, people like, it's sometimes some random forums, like sometimes they'll be like, hey, like they break down what I was like, dummy, you you were not explicit at all. You just said don't buy anything illegal, right? I forget the specifics, but it's like, hey, don't do anything illegal. All right, cool. So they ran a business on your behest. You didn't give it specific guardrails, and maybe you should have given the keys to all of your personal information,
Yeah.
right? You didn't understand basics. Like you said, she gave a kid a flamethrower and said, "Hey, kid, just don't burn down the house." Okay, well, I burned down your car. It's like
Right. 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 Yeah.
so. This is where I think you're going to
That
be
is,
very important.
that is true. I mean, AI is works well when people work well with
Mm-hmm.
it. So, but you're right about the entrepreneurial route. It's definitely a lot easier for those who have had ideas in their head but never had the opportunity or the tools to do them very quickly and prove that their idea works. So it's the barrier to entry and to creating your own app or business. It's gotten a lot easier now. because everything is available, all the tools are available. You can kick on everything for a fraction of the price that you would be paying if you were to build something from scratch and you were to hire a bunch of engineers and go and get funding and all of that. So that is easy. The setting up cost and the setting up processes. The hardest part is to scale it. Once you get the first 100 customers, now you really need to scale that up. And you still need the appropriate resources for that scaling to happen. You still need to hire engineers, but you don't need 10 engineers, you need 2 engineers. But you still need the appropriate resources if it takes off and you get to that level of now you need to scale your business. But you're right. It's a lot more fun to create. It's a lot easier to come up to take your ideas to life and in a shorter amount of time that it would have taken you if you didn't have these kind of tools. And it's for those people who are excited about it because it's not for everyone.
Yeah,
There are people who just like the day-to-day work that they do, and that's okay. That's perfectly
I
fine.
meet you guys.
It's they like the safety, they like um the being able to do something on a regular basis, and that's okay. As an entrepreneur, I'll just tell you that you have to be a lot more uh, dedicated and conscious of your time and how you spend your time and how much time is spent on what. And you have to have an internal motivation that keeps you going because you do get to a point where you get burned out and you want to give up. But you take your time, you recuperate, and you get back on it again. So it's not for everyone, but it's for those people who are excited about the technology, who are excited to take their ideas to life, to try out different things and see what works.
Well, certainly the threshold is much lower. Um,
Yeah.
Now, I would be remiss if I didn't well, not even circle back, but uh, check in on the the craziness that is your life, right? So, you know,
Yeah, the excitement of my
the
life, you
excitement,
mean?
but when, I still scratch my head in terms and try to figure out like what you're another one of those people that I can't figure out how you fit it all in a day, right? So, yes, you started your own company, starting your own business, and I have no doubt that that's going to excel heights that are just going to make people jelly over and over again. That's right.
Oh.
It's just, and it's not just out of flattery. It's just too. Your track record is your track record. Um, but then you are also leasing of your own band, right?
Mhm.
Which that is, usually that is, people who actually do the thing that requires time and intentional, right, work. And then,
Mhm.
if you don't want to, if that's not enough, you decided, well, years ago, but you decided you want to be a mom of children, right? So,
Yeah.
mother, wife, uh, band or musician, business owner, and you're also, still currently sitting as president of the FWA. FWA, again, you guys have had crazy, impressive events this
Mhm.
past, like, call it 3 months, like, continually, but, like, still, right?
Yeah, we just had one this week. Yeah,
How?
which was really great.
How? How?
I don't do it alone. I swear I don't do it alone. I have a lot of people who help out, who are excited by what I'm doing, and they just join me in this effort. So FWA, it's great. It's a great example. I don't do everything alone. Of course, I spend a lot of time because I kind of direct the work and I have to think strategically about some of the things that we do, but I have a lot of help there. There's amazing professionals who like to give their back to the community and do amazing work. And they go out there and find speakers and great topics that our community is interested in. And then as a band, I don't do it alone. My husband is a great partner. We collaborate together all the time. So if I'm getting complacent, he's the one who's kicking my butt and and doing rehearsals and scheduling with the band and doing all that stuff. Of course, as a mom, I have a lot of help. I have amazing parents who help out when I need babysitting, when they need to pick them up from school and I'm not able to because I have to run to an event or something like that. Um, and the business, of course, I meet people all the time who encourage me, who just motivate me. And recently, I started also exercising, and I found an accountability partner for that. And I don't know if we've ever spoken in the past about
Mhm.
accountability or mutual accountability. I am a big believer on this concept. And recently, I was talking to someone at my Toastmasters group. Her name is Jackie, and we just got to talking. She wants to exercise daily. I want to start exercising daily. And we're like, okay, we want the same thing. What do you want to do? And she's like, I want to run for at least 1 to 2 miles, or walk, or, keep up with my routine, but it's so hard. And I said, I want to do the same thing. I want to run at least 2 miles a day just so that I can get my heart rate up and my body moving. And what we started doing every morning, we send a picture of ourselves to one another with, once I'm done with my run, I just take a picture and I send it to her and I say, here we go. I'm done for the day. Have a great day. And she does the same thing. And it's been going on for 6 weeks now. So I'm so proud that I'm actually keeping this up. But I think I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't have the right people in place. And I am a big believer in mutual accountability. If I could find a mutual accountability partner for everything that I want to do, I'd probably be doing a lot more.
I mean, I feel like that's why people who continue, even like the people you think have quote unquote made it, I feel like that's why they hire coaches and mentors and have their inner circle, right? I noticed that trend of like obviously we were gonna have our colleagues and friends that we just will kick it with just because, but the more I kind of like ask people of like, hey, who's in your circle, like who do you rely on, who do you lean on, who do you bounce ideas off, and usually they're like, it's some kind of semblance of what you just said. Like I have my tribe, right? And within my tribe, there are a lot of people who will literally just say, "Get your ass out of bed, get up, let's go, let's go." Oh, your toe hurts, get up, let's go, right? Oh, like, oh, your client just like reamed you on this meeting, get up, let's go, right? It's like, hey, like we'll do the postmortem, right? We'll do the
Yes.
postmortem, but understand, like, I'm not here so that I could just hand you out Kleenex and that's the end of it. Like, take the time to mourn if you need to, right? But look, the
Mhm.
work still needs to get like I love that thing of like, hey, and also if you need help, I'll help you get Philly cap. Like there's like that little bit of
Yeah.
people who will just keep you on your game, and it's not always gonna be
Yes.
the cheerleaders. Sometimes it's gonna be like, hey, you're doing shoddy work.
Mhm.
You're not living up to your potential. And if you
Yeah.
want someone who's just gonna say, oh, everything's okay, like the chat GPT trope of like, oh, it's okay. No, it's not okay. Get up, let's go.
But yeah, and so it's so funny because you could argue that AI could take the place of that person, right? The person who's kicking your butt and who's telling you to get up from bed and do your thing that you're supposed to be doing, but you're not doing it. But what I like with this mutual accountability partnership is it takes it to the next level because it's not just you doing it on your own. The other person is doing the same thing at the same time. And so now you feel a little bit of an obligation to keep up with it because you don't want to disappoint that other person who's also doing it. With AI is not doing what you're doing. AI is not running, and telling me that, hey, I did it. Did you do
Mhm.
it? But like that in itself, subconsciously, it keeps you honest with yourself, so you're not skipping it. Because I can lie to AI and say, like, I did
Mhm.
it, but I didn't do it.
Well,
But I can't lie to another human being because I would feel very crappy
well, it's because
afterwards
you have
if I did.
morals.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I think
Right, morals are the
yeah, yeah,
differentiator.
moral fiber. How the ridiculousness of that. Oh, but it is interesting though. I do see that there is a weird, and not with everyone. The masses for sure is still right, but I do see a growing like group of folks where as things are going, there's a weird pendulum swing backward towards like almost analog, right? Like
Mhm.
because there's so much AI slop everywhere, AI this and a third. For instance, I do sense
Mhm.
there is a growing number of people that will say, "Hey, forget the email. can you call me?
Yeah.
Can you at least FaceTime me? Like, can I see your face to make sure that you're not some like robot thing, right? In terms
Mhm.
of interactions, yeah, obviously text and emails are still a thing, but there's still a thing of like, dude, what are you doing this weekend? All right, like, you want to meet at the park? You want to meet at the coffee shop? Whatever. Like, can we just chop it up? I need like a human eyeball looking across the table so that I can have a semblance of like, yes, I am human.
Yeah, it's so interesting. All of these changes, I see them as a pendulum. If it goes too much to the right, it's going to come down at some point and go to the
Mhm.
left. So you know, all of these AI generated things or embracing AI, it goes one way, but then it gets to a point where you're like, oh, it's too much of it. And I want to go back and retrieve a little bit. And then you're like, no, 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 we retreated too much. We got to go back. So it's a pendulum. It's going to swing
I think
until
we're
it gets its equilibrium, and so we are one way or another, we're going to find our new equilibrium. Is just we're not there
Mhm.
yet. That's why you see all these swings right now on either direction.
I don't think it's ever gonna stop. I mean, I think that's just the premise of
It's
human nature,
not, yeah.
right? The pendulum swings, we
Exactly.
pivot. Pendulum swings, we pivot. It is what it is.
Exactly.
Uh,
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
do have a question. Uh, because
Okay.
I realize I've held you hostage for at least an hour at this point. Um, do you have any preferred tools? And if so, I mean, is there like a
Mm,
I like this tool specific for this, or however you want to map it out? What tools do you like or are intrigued by?
yeah. Well, right now for me, the go-to tool is Claude because a couple of reasons. I think it's a lot more intuitive and easier to use, especially for those folks who are non-technical, but also I think from a moral standpoint, I like that company better than all the other companies that are out there. And I want to be the kind of person who uses a tool that is in line with the values that I want to, put out into the world. And so I really like their innovation. I like their speed of work, but I also like the fact that they, at least that's what they say, they care about people's security and what's keeping us
Mhm.
safe. So safety is definitely a concern, and so I want to put my trust in a company that puts that safety as the priority in their work. So when they say that leaders don't matter, they do. Leaders matter. How leaders show up in the world, it impacts how people trust their product. So to me, I want to trust products where I actually also trust the leadership of that product.
What a crazy thought, right? Like, what a crazy thought. I mean, that's yeah. I mean, for me, I'm getting to the point where I think I need to do more tinkering with Claude. For me, just nowadays
Aren't we all, Alex? You're not
yeah.
you're not behind. Trust me. I think we every day that passes, I'm always thinking like I'm behind on things because every day something new comes up and something new changes. So we're in this constant rat race right now with AI.
I like I don't know, like oh, my brain is like I think using Claude Cowork and things of that nature for me is like, oh, like, if you look at general rules, it's just like, oh, just make a separate folder, whatever, whatever,
Mhm.
and it should be fine. But in the back of my head, I'm like, if this goes rogue, technically, wouldn't it just be like, I don't like the sandbox? And this is where my insane auditor trust nothing
Yes.
brain comes in of like, I mean, I guess like for me, I'm
Mhm.
at a point of like, hey, do I just buy a new separate laptop and like, but you know what, I might pull the trigger and
A lot of people have done that for sure.
yeah.
A lot of people have bought separate laptops, and it's not a bad
Mhm.
idea. You use it as a playground, and you use it as a testing ground for everything that you want to do, and you're not worried about all the things that you have to hide from AI at that point. So yes, I know people who even with OpenClaw, I don't trust OpenClaw on my
Mhm.
personal computer, so I'm not going to do that. But I know people who have bought a separate computer and are testing it and playing with it there.
Yep. separate computers, separate email accounts, separate everything, just specific. That's when I'm, ugh, man, more money. God damn it. Okay. um,
Get a cheap one. Although with this, if you really, I actually, it's so funny. I just bought a computer that it's super, it's kind of super expensive because I added all these bells and whistles to it because I really want a lot more
mhm.
memory if I'm going to do a lot more things with it. So yes, it is an investment, but I'm hoping that it will pay off because it will allow me to do the things that I really want to do, and it will have the memory and the space that I really want.
I mean, that's, yeah. I mean, at this point, I mean, the default is essentially getting a gaming rig, right? Or really like a souped up one, depending on use case. Um,
Exactly.
I,
Yeah.
I forgot to ask. Currently at this point, what is the clientele that you are looking to work with?
I really am not very restricted with my clients. I mean, mid-sized organizations probably are easier to kind of
Mhm.
understand their perspectives and easier to work with because large organizations, they already have large teams already in place. They're doing a lot of things on their own. I can certainly help with AI assessment, setting up certain assessments for their organizations, or setting up working together with HR departments to create programs for AI upskilling. I think I love teaching, so that's something that I've been doing a lot more of lately. And but obviously, certainly, mid-size or even startups would benefit from setting up ground correctly from the beginning, and so that would they would benefit from my expertise coming from large enterprise organizations. Yeah.
Ooh, saying all the right things. All the things that make me so happy. Yes. Make and build things before, and make sure you correct things before they're a problem, for sure. For sure. But
Exactly.
I mean, even if it's diagnostics, guys, just please, 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 please go ask somebody, go learn the thing.
The most important thing is to keep
Mhm.
learning every day, to learn something new. There are plenty of information and courses out there for anyone. I think the hardest part is where to start, and my advice would be start anywhere. Just do one thing every day, and then you'll get to a point where you feel now more comfortable with it, and you'll have a lot more knowledge on how to use it correctly. But yeah,
Cool.
just start.
Start. Well, man,
And if you need an accountability partner,
Albana's a call.
I'm here.
Unless you're gonna waste their time, then don't go away. But I mean, I realized I did. I mean, at some point, I think I want to, I guess, start drilling down on more specific tactical things. Um,
Mm,
but we're already at over an hour mark. So for now,
yeah, absolutely. We're gonna have to do part
w-
4. How many parts are we doing?
I, and honestly, I lost count. I want to maybe four, five, four, five, five. So
Also, by the way, on May 21st, if you're around, I'll be playing downtown at Berlin, NYC. So,
Berlin, NYC.
and it's at 6 p.m. So now there are no excuses for people who always complain that my shows are too late. This is not late. This is literally right after your work. So it's Thursday night, May 21st. I'm going to be at Berlin Club downtown, NYC, and it's at 6 p.m.
So I'll definitely
Yeah.
try to get this edited way before then. Yeah, and it's up there. Okay. So, well, in that case, definitely check out I'll Be Band, right? We're playing at May 21st, right? At
Hmm.
6 to 9. Are you playing at 6?
I'm playing at 6
Nice.
and the other band starts at 7:30. It's two different bands, another kick-ass woman who's coming after me, and yeah, we're partnering and we're playing from 6 to 9 together, but I go at 6. And I would love to see the professionals out there who always complain they don't have enough
Mhm.
time, because it's gonna be a great time.
Yep. And look, tickets looks like tickets are 10, $12. I mean, dude, that's it's $10, right? Like if you guys if you have the time, if you have the wherewithal, make the time, show up, have some fun, have some fun, and
Exactly. Have some fun. That's
you
right.
know, there's enough crazy in the world. Um, for anyone else who needs to reach out, contact, whatever, and all that jazz, where can folks find you?
Yeah, they can check out my website, thek.io, so thek.io, which is Thekio, that's my company. And my email is albana@theka.net. I make it very easy. It's first name at last name.net.
Perfect. All right. I'll make sure I link all of that in the description below. Amana,
Thank you,
as
Alex.
always, thank you so much for your
A
time.
pleasure, as always.
And as always, if you guys have any questions, come reach out. Otherwise, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.